thought I was going to be in a big university so I could draw on a big whiteboard, but now I got a little tiny whiteboard. So if you can't see in the back, sorry, there's room up front. So let's talk about ecosystem, how this works. How does Linux work? How do we get patches? What do we do? Where do they go? So let's start with developers. That's all of us in this room usually. We're funny little developers. And we create patches. And we make something into like a kernel. And x.org. We create stuff there. And if we're really, really lucky project, we have some users of our stuff we use directly. And there's not very many of them. And we love them, and please send us patches and tell us if we're testing. And they work back. Pardon me? Black marker? Oh, jeez. Sit up front. I'll get to black in a minute. Black any better than green? Oh, well. So we got developers making patches into some open source tree. Users of that package, very few of them interacting there. So that's where a lot of those companies are doing. They're paying these guys to do this work. They realize if you need features, you need development, you need to get it done here upstream. Obviously, Canonical has not learned this. So that's how they work. Now then, these people, we make a release, 2.6.27, whatever. And x.org makes 7, what are we, 7.1, 7.3? 4, okay, 4. It's running there. It's nice. We make releases, and all these other guys make releases. And then the distros pick these up. RHEL, SLES. These evil enterprise distros pick these up, and they bundle them together. Take all these things. I mean, make a lot of work in making a Linux distro is packaging everything up. I realize it's a tough thing. Canonical does do that. Actually, they rely on somebody else, but I'll get to that. So we got developers out here. And these are some developers in this room. They get paid by the Red Hats, by the Novels to do this work. And they make some packages, and I ran out of room. Okay. So they make a distro. And they send it, they sell it, and these people have some users. Lots of users. Lots and lots of users. And then there's a feedback loop. You find a problem, you find a bug. These users tell these guys. And a feedback, and they'll fix some patches and send things back like that. And that's a loop. There's a nice little ecosystem there. If we're really, really lucky, these guys will send stuff back over to here. It happens every once in a while. We're very happy when it does. It isn't as frequent as we'd like it. You can look at our patch logs. Red Hat stuff is buried. Novell stuff is buried. There are stuff that flows backwards. With the enterprise distros, it's usually very rare because they take a cut of a very old release and doesn't go. So usually, they start pulling stuff out of here, and the way is, it's one way. It goes from the community into there. Very rarely does it ever flow back. And we got the user distros, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Debian, Gentoo, Slackware. Slackware wasn't on my list, but Slacware's one guy, right? Slacware's still around. That's great. So these guys make a distro too. They package stuff up, and it goes off. Same thing, users. But there's a feedback loop. These guys go faster. These go 6 months, much more faster. They are known for feeding stuff back. Gentoo, Debian, it's proven. They feed stuff back. The Fedora guys, the OpenSUSE guys, they do feed the stuff back to the community. So the loop is back to here. But what about the companies, the distros, that base off another distro? So Canonical, Ubuntu. Pulls from here, makes their own, and has users way down here. These guys are relying on these guys to do the bundling of these guys to get back to there. So there's a feedback loop here. And it's very, very rare that this feedback loop goes to here. If it does, that's nice. It's hard to see. And it never gets back to here, as we saw. It never goes all the way back. CentOS. CentOS is not on that list. There's no contributions from CentOS anywhere. So if you're CentOS, you're based off RHEL, that's great. It's a nice product, but you're stuck in a feedback loop all on your own. You're never going to get out of that. You're relying on RHEL to do your work for you. You're relying on RHEL to do your packaging for you. Same thing with Ubuntu. Ubuntu's relying on Debian. They rebase on Debian. Some packages they do on their own, like the kernel. I think that's it. Xorg? You guys package your own Xorg?
There's a difference though, right? Because CentOS is not supposed to be binary
CentOS is supposed to be binary compatible. That's right. And they might think that's wonderful and that's good. I'm not saying CentOS is bad, but if you're a user of CentOS and you report a bug, it's not going anywhere. That's my point. The community out here gets nothing from CentOS. CentOS is relying on RHEL. So if you're a user and you want this enterprise thing, that's great, but realize where you're going with that. It's not going to get back to here. If you want a feature, if you want something changed, there's a large video sharing or image sharing site that I use. They rely on CentOS. They came to some kernel people and said, hey, we have this problem. We're like, oh, here, try this. They're like, but we can't modify our CentOS kernel. It's not going to work. So they'll never get through the feedback loop. At least they talk to us. But they're going to have to wait 4 years to ever get an update. So if you're running a company out here on CentOS, which a lot of people are, you're not going to get anything back in there. If you're running a company on Ubuntu, you're not going to get anything back in there. Because these guys are stuck in a feedback loop, relying on them to rely on these. It's a layer of indirectional way. It's not going to happen.
How does Oracle fit in?
Oracle, I don't know what Oracle does. Same as CentOS for their distro. But look at those contributions that Oracle does. Oracle has people out here in the beginning. They realize that if they want to be able to change what ends up in RHEL that gets based off CentOS, they have to contribute from the beginning. And they do. Oracle's really good. They're there. There's people who are here in this room. So Oracle understands that. They do base the distro, so if you are relying on them, you got the same issues. You're relying on Red Hat. If you're relying on Red Hat, just give the money to Red Hat. Okay. So that's the feedback loop. That's the ecosystem. So if you are a developer and you're working for these guys, if you're working as a packager, an integrator, that's great, and you like doing that. Wonderful. That's great. Wonderful. You're feeling good. If you work for Ubuntu Canonical and you like feedback loops and you like packaging stuff up and fixing bugs, that's great. But you're not contributing back here. I think almost everybody in this room was a developer because they like doing development. If you want to be back here, you want to be feeding stuff up, quit. Work for a company that understands this stuff. All those people on those lists understand that stuff. They understand that developers need to contribute up here at the head of the line. They need to contribute in order to get this stuff changed. If you're down here working for a company and you're not allowed to feed stuff back up because it's just not part of your daily job, quit. Those companies need people. Intel was trying to harass us to get recruiters here. We didn't let them. Intel needs people. All these companies need people. If you know how to do this stuff, if you're here in this room, you have a skill that is very, very, very valuable right now. We have to go out and try and train these companies on how to interact with the open source community. The fact that you're here right now means you already know how to do that. You have that skill set. This is a really good time. If you're not doing this and you want to do this, there's no excuse why you shouldn't be able to. That's my point. So, funny drawing. Can everybody see in the back? No. Move up to the front. There's empty seats. Anyway, that's all my drawing. Does that make sense? Good. Thank you. So what have we learned today?